Guys, I'm at a complete loss for words right now. I don't even know what to say. Oh my god, I'm still trying to recover from this episode. Hey there guys, what's up? It's Autobot Mike 18 here with another Breaking Bad episode review. Guys, it is Breaking Bad Sunday. I just watched the latest episode of Breaking Bad. I'm still trying to recover from it, guys. This episode definitely affected me emotionally, and I'm still blown away. Okay, I watched the episode about 20-30 minutes ago. I'm at a loss for words, so I don't even know how I'm going to put this review together. This episode was crazy, man. Alright, guys, so I just watched the newest episode of Breaking Bad. I'm going to try to get myself together here, and I'm going to try to do the review as best as I can, but, oh, man, with this episode, with the way this episode played out, I'm blown away, guys. I really am. I don't know what to say. So, guys, I just watched the newest episode of Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad, Season 5, Episode 14, Ozymandias. You guys all know how blown away I was last week in last week's episode, especially with the way they ended it with that giant cliffhanger. I could not wait until Sunday night, a week later, to find out what would happen with that shootout. I was waiting for this all week long, and it paid off. It really did. I love this episode, guys. This episode was... Oh, it was awesome. I can't wait to start talking about it, guys. I'm going to get right into the review. I have so many things to start talking about with this newest episode of Breaking Bad. First off, if you haven't seen the episode yet, please do not watch this review. I'm going to spoil the whole thing. This review will contain massive spoilers. So please do not watch this review if you haven't seen the new episode yet. I will ruin it for you, and I don't want to ruin it for you guys because it was fantastic. So, I got a lot to talk about, guys. Literally, so many things happened tonight. And I'm going to try to mention everything, guys. I'm going to, as I usually do in my Breaking Bad reviews, I'm going to mainly sum up the plot. I'm going to go in detail with the plot summary. And I'm also going to talk about a couple of other things I liked about the episode. I want to really just review this episode, I really want to go in depth with this episode. There are a lot of things I want to really discuss with this episode, and I also am going to leave a couple of predictions for next week's episode. So, guys, let's get right into it. So, the beginning of this episode, guys, I'm going to start off with the plot summary. Big plot summary for the episode. The beginning of this episode, I love the opening scene of episode 14, Ozymandias. It did not start off with the shootout. It literally started off with one of Walt and Jesse's first cooks out in the desert, and I love that. We actually saw Walt when he had hair, and, he was with Jesse in the RV, reminding us of the good old times. It was a great throwback to the first season. I love that first scene, and that was awesome. They finish a cook for a while, and Walt picks up his phone and calls Skyler, and ends up telling her a lie that he's working at the car wash or whatever with, Bogdan's car wash, and tells her he'll be home soon or whatever. And I love how they ended. I love how they show the RV, Walt and Jesse fading out on that one shot in the desert. That was awesome. So then it cuts to the main intro, the main theme, and then it shows where we left off last week, the shootout. And literally all the cars and Todd and Jack and his men, they all fade into that one shot in the desert, and I love how they did that. And we just hear guns at this point. We don't see anyone getting shot or anything like that. We just hear the sound of gunfire, and we see that image of all of them in the desert. And then it shows the body of Gomez on the floor. Gomez was shot and killed, and I think a lot of us saw that coming. That really didn't surprise me too much. A part of me, about 90% of me, felt that Gomez was going to be killed, and he was. Unfortunately, Gomez is dead. I'm not too sad that Gomez is dead. I mean, I always loved that relationship that Gomez and Hank had, that buddy DEA agent relationship, and I did like that character, the character of Gomez, but it's not affecting me as much as I thought it would be. It is sad that Gomez has died, but, he was more of a minor character, a recurring character. But there's another death in this episode that's a lot more affecting than Gomez's, let's just put it that way. So anyway, Gomez was killed, and Hank is still alive at this point. Hank is crouching behind cover, behind the car that Walt's in, and he's shot in the leg. And at first when I saw him shot in the leg, I'm like, how did they shoot him in the leg? His legs were behind cover of the car, but his front torso was out in the open, but they shot him in the leg? I don't know, that was weird to me. But anyway, Hank was shot in the leg. Jack and his men and Todd, they begin to walk over to where Hank is, and they pull Hank to the ground. and they're going to shoot Hank. And Walt begins yelling from inside the car. They take Walt out of the car, and Walt begins pleading for Hank's life. And this scene was so intense. A part of me felt they were going to kill Hank, another part of me felt maybe Hank's going to get out of this. So Walt literally tells them about all of his barrels of money out in that one spot in the desert. He tells them that he will give them every single barrel, all the money that's in those barrels, just for Hank's life. And this really, really surprised me that Walt would go this far for Hank. I mean, what about half the money? He wanted to give them every single dime just to save Hank's life, because Hank is family. He even said that to them. And Jack is really happy with this. He's like, all right, fine, I'll take your money. That's like $80 million. That's like $80 million and all those barrels of money. So Walt is going to give him the money. Walt's like, fine, I'm going to give you the money. Hank, they ask Hank, are you up for this? And then Hank gives one of the best lines of the episode. He tells Walt, you're one of the smartest men I knew. But don't you realize they wanted to kill me 10 minutes ago? Hank does not go for this. He is not going to give in this easy. He's not going to let Walt go like this. And he's not going to get out of this. So we all know that it's over for Hank. So Jack shoots Hank in the head and Hank dies. And I think most of us knew Hank would die in this episode. I predicted it last week. He didn't die in the shootout. Jack just shot him in the head. It shot him in the head after the shootout. So Hank is dead. That really... I saw that coming, but that was shocking in a way too. It's so sad that character. I loved the character of Hank. I did. Some people may not have liked him. I liked him, but you know what? It just goes to show you that Hank went too far with this investigation of Walt. You know, his ego was too big, and that led to his own downfall. And that's why Hank is dead right now. And that's it for Hank. And Hank and Gomez are both dead. So as soon as Jack shoots Hank in the head, Walt like falls down on the ground. He's just like, he is out of it. He just loses it for a second. He's like crying and he's like on the floor. He cannot believe, he's shocked that Jack just shot him in the head, Hank in the head. And apparently Jesse ran off. So Jack sent some of his men to go after Jesse. Jesse's apparently gone. He's in the desert somewhere. And they take Hank and Gomez, they bury them in the ground, and they also take every single one of Walt's barrels of money. They dig them up, they give Walt one of the barrels of money, and they're about ready to leave. Walt is still messed up because of Hank's death, and Walt sees Jesse hiding under Walt's car. So Jack and his men, they get Jesse out from under the car, and they're about to shoot him when Todd intervenes and tells them to hold off. Walt is like, go ahead, go for it, shoot Jesse. But Todd steps in and tells them, wait, what if Jesse told the DEA something? What if, he knows something? I say we should bring him back and get the information out of him. So Jack and his men agree. They take Jesse away, but before they do, Walt confesses to Jesse, and this was the holy shit moment of the episode. Walt confesses to Jesse that he watched Jane die. I was shocked at that. I was like that. I could not believe that Walt did it at that point. I absolutely forgot about that. I never thought Walt would actually confess to that, but Walt was just so pissed. I mean, Jesse was literally the one who brought on all of this. You know, he went to Hank, and that's what kind of started all this. That's why kind of Hank's dead in a way. And Walt was so pissed off at Jesse, and he confessed to him that he watched Jane die, and he didn't do anything about it. And I was like, oh my god. So they take Jesse away, and they leave Walt alone in the desert with one barrel of money, which got about $11 million, and then it cuts to commercial. Then the episode comes back on, and Marie, when the episode comes back on, Walt starts rolling his barrel of money through the desert because his car dies, and he's still obviously affected by Hank's death. He buys a truck from this old guy, and he drives off. Now back at the car wash, Marie goes to the car wash. As we all know in the last episode, Hank called Marie and told her that they got Walt. Him and Gomez got Walt. And she's so happy with this. She's so happy with this. She goes to the car wash to tell Skyler that it's over. And she also tells her, there's a way for you to get out of this. I still have faith that you weren't all involved with this, And but the big moment at the car wash was she wants Skyler. Marie wants Skyler to tell Walter Jr. everything. Because Marie believes that Hank has Walt, and that Walt is on his way to jail right now. But little does Marie know, Hank is dead. So nobody knows Hank is dead. Obviously, only Walt, Jack and his men, Todd and Jesse, they all know Hank is dead. Marie doesn't know, and that's what's so great about the writing in this episode. I was just so amazed by the fact Marie has absolutely no clue that her husband is dead, and she thinks she's on top. She thinks she's victorious, because Hank got Walt, and Walt got out of it, and that was amazing. That really was. And so they are going to tell. She wants Skyler to tell Walt Jr. everything, and then you're like, oh man. Once Skyler tells Walt Jr. everything, I mean that's it. That is, Walt Jr. is never going to be the same again, and that was crazy. When Marie went to the car wash. Anyway, in another one of the scenes in the episode, we see Jesse in like this underground like cell, and he's all alone. He's like beaten up. He's bloodied, and Todd opens like the gates. He goes down through this ladder. He brings Jesse up to the surface, and he brings him into the meth lab. And at this point, we realize Todd kind of saved Jesse's life in a way. He got Jesse out of being killed because he said he wanted to interrogate Jesse for, information, to find out what he told the DEA. It turns out Todd just wanted Jesse to teach him how to cook. Todd literally brings Jesse into the meth lab. He hooks him up, he like chains him like to the wall or whatever. He's got like this really long chain. Jesse's connected to like the ceiling, and Todd tells him, "Let's cook." And I'm like, oh man, Todd just did that just so Todd can, cook the meth. And that was awesome. I honestly did not see that coming. But that was smart. That was very well written, in my opinion. I did not see that coming with the story. And Jesse, what freaks Jesse out, he sees a picture of Andrea and Brock in the meth lab, in Todd's meth lab, and that's what pisses him off, and then Todd says, let's cook. So Todd is going to use Jesse. Todd is holding Jesse captive to teach him how to cook, because, Todd wants to cook better, which I don't know what's still going on with Todd. He doesn't need to cook anymore. He is loaded. They took most of Walt's money, him and Jack, and the men, they took Walt's money, so, but, Todd still wants to cook. He wants to learn how to cook. Matt Damon, man, what are you going to do? But anyway, guys, so that's that scene. A little bit later on in the episode, we see Walt Jr., Skyler, and Marie in one of the offices in the car wash. And Walt Jr. at this point, he's freaking out. It is revealed Skyler and Marie told him everything. They told him Walt's been a drug dealer. They told him everything that Walt has really done. They know that what they know about Walt. And Walt Jr. is freaking out at this point. R.J. Mitte is the actor who plays Walt Jr. I must praise him on his performance in this episode. He gave an amazing performance in this episode. I was blown away by him. He just, best performance, and out of every single episode he's been in Breaking Bad, this one was the best. His best performance for sure. I really loved that, how they showed him finding out the truth about his father, and that crushed Walt Jr., and I think a lot of us were waiting for that, because there was this big secret that's been kept for Walt Jr. for like a whole year, and now he finds out the truth, and just to see his reaction to that was amazing. And R.J. Mitte was fantastic in the episode. But anyway, guys, Walt Jr.'s in shock. He believes that his father's arrested, that he's in jail at this point, that they're prosecuting him at this point, because they still haven't heard anything from Walt. They still haven't heard anything from Hank. So Skyler takes Walt Jr. and Holly home. They're she's bringing them home, and we see a truck in the White residence driveway, and we also see Walt in the White House, and he's packing up suitcases, and we're like, oh man, they're going to figure out what really happened. They're going to find out that Hank is dead and Walt got out of this. So, they're surprised to see this weird truck in the driveway. They go into the house, and they're shocked to see Walt is there. And Walt Jr. is so happy, he's confused at the same time. He's like, wait, I was just told you were arrested. What are you doing here? And Skyler's in shock. Marie's not with them, guys. I'm sorry if I did say that. They go into the house, and Walt is like frantically telling, come on, we gotta pack. Come on, get your stuff, get your suitcases together, guys. We're gonna start a new life or whatever. And Skyler just wants to know what happened to Hank, because from what she knows, Hank had Walt, and that was the end for Walt. And she's shocked that Walt got out of this. She wants to know what happened to Hank. She keeps asking Walt, where's Hank, where's Hank? And Walt's like, I don't have time, I'll explain this all to you guys, just pack up your things. And Skyler demands to know, and Walt doesn't tell them that Hank is dead. Skyler asks, is he dead? and Walt doesn't say anything, and the Skyler's just completely shocked, and then Walt Jr. is like, Uncle Hank is dead. I mean, they're all just, they're torn apart. The White family, at this point in the episode, the White family is slowly crumbling. We're slowly seeing this family tear apart, and it was just so mind-blowing to see this part of the episode, guys. It really was. I was just really shocked by what I was watching in this scene in the house, in the White House. So, Walt is still trying to get them to get their things together. Skyler goes over to the kitchen and she pulls out a knife. And I'm like, what the hell is she going to do? And at this point, we realize she's against Walt. She knows, she has a feeling that Walt killed Hank, or that Hank is dead. She said it. And she holds a knife up to Walt and tells him to get out. And we're like, oh my god. And Walt's like, no, come on, we gotta stick together as a family. And he's like, Skyler, what are you doing? And Skyler literally slashes his hand with the knife. And Walt kind of like tries to wrestle her with the knife. Holly starts crying, you know, the baby. And Walt Jr. is like, come on, guys, stop it. You know, he's freaking out. They like roll on the floor. They like roll over a suitcase. They're wrestling each other with a knife. I kind of thought that Walt was going to accidentally stab Skyler or something. That's what I thought was going to happen. I mean, this scene in the house was so freaking intense. It was, oh my god, it killed me. And what happened next really shocked the hell out of me. Walt Jr. kind of tackles Walt, gets him off of Skyler, and kind of separates them. He pushes Skyler off to the side, and he's like holding Walt back. You know, he like throws down like his handlebars. You know, the things that he uses to walk. And I love what he did in that point, at that part in the episode. I was really pleased with what they made his character do. The writing on the show is just brilliant, guys, for sure. And he stood up for his mother. And at first we're like, holy crap, Walt Jr. is with his mother on this one. And you know the relationship that Skyler and Walt Jr. has had hasn't been, you know, one of the best. We've seen that. You know, he's called her a bitch before. He's turned against her. But he turns against Walt in this episode. I was like, oh my god. He pulls out his cell phone and calls 911, telling them, you know, his father pulled out a knife on them. And I was just shocked. The expression on Walt's face is just, it's crazy. And Walt is like, we're a family. He's just beyond shocked about what's going on right now. So he gets out of the house, but he takes Holly with him, and Skyler is freaking out. Walt gets in his car in the truck, backs out of the driveway, literally pushes into Skyler's car, gets out of the driveway. He drives off. Skyler tries to chase after him because he took the baby. And that's how that part of the episode cuts off. And now it's coming down to like the final 10 minutes of the episode, guys. The last couple of scenes. Just to let you know, Jesse's no longer in the episode. That last scene with Todd holding him captive, that was the last time we see Jesse in the episode. But anyway, we see Walt with Holly. He's changing her in, I guess, a changing room in some restaurant or something. You know, he's talking to her, and I love how they had the baby say, "Mama, Mama," and you know, a part of me was like, "Really, this baby can talk already?" But anyway, oh man. And he realizes, what the hell am I doing here? I gotta somehow give this baby back. So I think it's later on at night, and Walt calls Skyler. Now we see the White residence. Skyler is in there. You know, she's a mess. Walt Jr. is also there, and Marie is there. Now Marie doesn't officially know Hank is dead. They believe Hank is dead. And there's also a bunch of police officers in the White residence, and the phone rings and it's Walt. Skyler answers it. I think they're tracking they're tracing the call, and they're listening in on the conversation. Walt asks, "Is there anyone there?" And Skyler's like, "No, no one's here. No police or anything like that." And Walt is furious with her, and this scene really shocked me. This was another one of the most holy shit moments of the whole episode. Walt basically tells her that he calls her a stupid bitch. That's one of the things I know a lot of people were probably impressed with that, because a lot of people hate Skyler. But anyway, calls her a stupid bitch. He says that Hank crossed him, and says that Hank is dead. He doesn't say that he killed Hank, because, well, in a way, Walt inadvertently caused Hank's death, but no one knows. Walt doesn't go on and confess that he killed Hank, because he didn't kill Hank. In a way, he didn't kill Hank, but in a way, he did. You know, he inadvertently caused it. And Marie starts crying. Walter Jr.'s shocked, and Skyler's still on the phone with him. And Walt basically threatens her and tells her, if you cross me, you're going to end up just like Hank. And I was like, that's not Walter White. That is Heisenberg right there. That is Heisenberg. Walter White is no more. We all knew that at one point in like season 4, Walter White was no more. We only saw Heisenberg. Some point in the midway of season 5, when Walt was, you know, acting more like the family man, you know, he was getting closer to Skyler and Walt Jr. by like episode 8 of season 5. You guys know what I'm talking about. We're like, you know what, Walt is more Walter White. He's no longer Heisenberg. He's kind of given it up in a way, but now he's full on Heisenberg. That's it. He is no longer Walter White. He is done with his family from that conversation. He's just threatened Skyler. He's threatened her life, and he's done with that. I was mind blown by that scene, guys. So he hangs up with Skyler, and he ends up leaving Holly in a fire department, in one of the fire trucks. He just goes to this random fire department, leaves Holly in one of the fire trucks, and he takes off. There's like a note attached to her of his address, and he takes off. And literally the last scene of this episode, there's a shot of Walt's barrel of money and a couple of suitcases on the side of the road. Walt is sitting in the same spot where Jesse was in episode 11 of season 5, where he was waiting for that guy to come take him away and give him a new identity. It's revealed Walt is waiting for that same guy to come take him away and give him a new identity. So that same red van pulls up. Walt takes his things, puts everything into the van, gets into the car, and the van drives off, and that's how the episode ends. Just as the episode ends, there's like a wolf or a coyote that runs across the street, and it runs across to the other side of the street, and the episode cuts to black, and that's how they ended it. I love that ending. I'm going to talk about that in a second, guys. So that's how they ended it. Now we're starting to get much closer and closer to that first scene in season 5, episode 1 of Walt in the diner with that new identity. He went to Saul's guy, and he's obviously going to get a new identity now, and he's all on his own at this point. So that was the whole plot summary of the episode, guys. I'm sorry it took 22 minutes to talk about the whole plot summary, but as I said, guys, so many things happened in this episode. You guys know what I'm talking about. You guys watched the episode if you watched it. So many big things happened tonight. I had to talk about a lot of things that unfolded. So, guys, there are a couple of things that I actually want to discuss before I get into a couple of my thoughts and predictions for next week. This episode, one thing I loved about this episode was fantastic, guys. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. I think it was better than last week's. This actually might be one of my favorite episodes of all time in the entire Breaking Bad series. And I'm going to tell you guys why. I love this episode for one specific reason. It shows the breakdown and the end of the White family. The White family is over at this point. You have Walt Jr. and Skyler, they're still sticking together. But Walt, from what I saw with this episode, it looks like Walt is done with his family. And that's kind of like a big slap in the face. Walt started all of this, getting all this money, cooking all this meth, doing all these things with Jesse, getting into all of this trouble. He's in this huge hole now. He did all of this for his family. And now he's basically turned away from his family. And I love where they took this show. I love where they took this story. I love what they did with that. Because that's it. That's crazy. Also, another thing I wanted to mention. I loved how this episode showed Walt completely turning away from Skyler, basically threatening to kill her, and he was pointing out her faults, and he was yelling at her over the phone in that conversation in the end by saying, "You never supported me. You always felt that what I was doing was wrong or whatever. It was immoral." However he said it, and I love how this episode shows that the loving family man of Walter White, known as Walter White, is done. He is Heisenberg now. I don't care what anyone says. I am not going to call Bryan Cranston's character Walter White anymore. I have to call him Heisenberg now. He is full-on Heisenberg. Some of us may have thought he was Heisenberg back in where he killed Gus, or where, I don't know, back when he ordered Jesse to kill Gale or whatever. But at that point, a part of him was still Walter White. I think Walter White has completely died, and he's just full-on Heisenberg now, especially with the fact that he's turned against Skyler and away from his family. And they're the ones, they're the reason why he did all this from the beginning. So I love what they did with this episode. A part of me was really sad to see this actually happen, to see this really close family crumble completely. I mean the inner family, the family of Walt, Skyler, Walt Jr., and Holly. I mean, it's crumbled. It's done. And I love that with this episode. A part of me was really saddened by that, but a part of me loved it. And another thing I wanted to mention, guys, I love how they showed that Wolf and the Coyote run by across the screen in the episode. Now, I think that's symbolism, and I think that's symbolizing how Walt is like a lone wolf or a lone coyote at this point. Shows that he has separated from his family and he's on his own now. He's going to live a new life. He's going to get a new identity from what we saw from him getting into that van. And I love how they showed that lone wolf running across the street. That was awesome. I love that. This episode was directed by Ryan Johnson. It was beautifully directed. The cinematography was excellent. The music was, of course, tense as always. And this episode was excellent, guys. I give it my highest rating of a 10. I loved it, and I loved what they did with the story and the characters. The performances, of course, were absolutely amazing in this episode. RJ Mitty especially blew me away, and I loved it, guys. I loved every second of it. I was on the edge of my seat throughout most of it, and I was just so blown away by how it ended, how everything turned out by the end of the episode, and where Walt's stand is where his stance is right now. It's crazy. It's crazy. Guys, there's only 2 episodes left. I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. Like I said, I give this episode a 10 out of 10. Couple predictions. As we all know, Walt is going on to get that new identity. I think by now, everyone's going to start to figure out that Walt is Heisenberg. Because now, most of the police that were in Skyler's house know Walt was kind of confessing things over the phone. Marie knows everything Walt has done. You know, that whole family knows everything Walt has done. They could easily tell the media or whatever about Walt and everything he's done, and the fact that he was the drug dealer, he was the meth lord, he was Heisenberg, and that may be why that may be the reason why the White residence was trashed and Heisenberg was spray painted into the wall. I'm still dying to know what's going to happen with Jesse and Todd. I think Jesse's going to get away from that. I think Todd will have him cook. I think Jesse will cook. And I think Jesse will get out of that somehow. And now, after having Walt confess to Jesse that he watched Jane die, didn't do anything about it, I think Jesse's going to kill Walt. I seriously believe that. And I think that would be a good way to actually end the series, in my opinion. Jesse now, he knows an extra bad thing Walt has done to him. And I think it would be a good way to end it if they have Jesse kill Walt. Because I don't see Walt making out alive out of this now. I don't. He is in deep shit right now, and that's it. I mean, it's pretty much over for him. Obviously, they're looking for him, but if he gets a new identity, they're obviously not going to find him. I mean, his family is over, his life is over, he's going to start a new life, and I still have a feeling that Jesse is going to try to Jesse's going to kill Walt in the end. And so yeah, guys, that's what I think is going to happen. This was an amazing episode. It marked the death of one of the biggest characters of the series, Hank, and also Gomez died. And this episode was amazing, guys. I loved it. I think it was better than last week's, actually. I loved it. Sorry for the very long review, guys. I tried to do my best I could. Like I said, I'm still emotionally affected by this episode and how much it surprised me, how much it genuinely surprised me. So thank you guys a lot for watching. We got two episodes left until the very end of Breaking Bad. Shit is really starting to get real, guys. I can't wait to see what happens. Thank you a lot for supporting me, guys, and watching my Breaking Bad reviews. We got 2 episodes left, guys. I will review those 2 episodes when they are aired, for sure. Thank you guys so much for watching, and leave me your thoughts, predictions on next week's episode, and also leave me your thoughts on this episode down below in the comments. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Bye.